I'm going to go over this in class, or by the time you watch this, I will have gone over this in class. But I wanted to talk briefly about what the exercise and assignment, exercise 2, assignment 2, what you're going to be doing for those in case your internet dropped out or whatever. So exercise 2, right, this is what we're doing in class, or, in class, going into out of class, whatever. It's a fairly straightforward technical exercise looking at focal length and point of view. I have it here, and I'm going to read along on it. If you want to take a look at it, it is on the website, in assignment descriptions, exercise 2, check it out. So we will be shooting both with and without a tripod. You will need a person to photograph. If you can't find a person, right? If you don't have a person, you can do it with something that is not a person, but it should be about person height. So I'm not sure what that means. You should really try to get a person. But again, if you can't, you are all smart people and figure it out. But again, yeah, should be about person height so that these different places I'm telling you to photograph from make a little bit more sense. So you're also going to be using a different focal length. So if you have a zoom that goes from wide angle to telephoto, that's perfect. If you don't have a zoom, or you have a zoom that goes from normal to telephoto, it would be great if you could get something that was more wide angle. If you do not have anything wide angle, right? If you're like, listen, Brad, all I've got is a zoom that goes from like, 50 millimeters to 200 millimeters, right? So it goes from like normal, or on a crop sensor, kind of long, to very long. Your phone, right? Hesitate to ask you to use your phone, but your phone is pretty wide angle, right? If you got a new fancy phone, it's probably very wide angle. You may have a different camera that is more wide angle. So if your only option for a wide angle lens is your phone, use your phone for the wide angle portion of the evening. But if you do have a zoom lens that can get wide angle to telephoto, or you have separate lenses, prime lenses, meaning not a zoom, that are wide angle, telephoto, and normal, or some combination of whatever, that's great. We need to have wide angle, we need to have normal, we need to have telephoto. So first off, part A, full figure. So we're going to have 6 photographs. They're going to be a portrait orientation, meaning that it is a vertical rectangle. Position your model so that they have a little bit of space behind them, right? So not just like right up against a wall, right? Have them take a couple of steps forward. You're going to need a little bit of space to move around. So if you have a hallway or something, or you can go outside on a sidewalk, that will make your life a little bit better. So model, not right up against a wall. Position you in the camera so that you can photograph your model head to toe, right? So full body shot using telephoto lens, meaning you're going to have to be kind of far back. Don't need a lot of space above or below them, right? Just try to get, like a little bit above and a little bit right at their feet. Don't cut them off. But so telephoto, head to toe, and measure the distance then from the camera to the model. Now you're like, Brad, how do I measure the distance, right? I'm like, using measuring, right? So if you got a measuring tape, hey, if you don't have a measuring tape, right, you got feet. I mean, I haven't met all of you, so I'm assuming that you all have feet. If you don't have feet, then you probably have something with wheels. If you have something with wheels, then you can mark a piece of chalk on the wheel, and one full rotation is the circumference of the wheel, and you can measure distance that way. If you have feet, right, you can go heel, toe, heel, toe. I mean, I guess you could have feet and still not walk. But if you have wheels, you can do wheels. If you have feet that you can walk on, you can do heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, right? You'll be like, okay, my camera position is 12 foot lengths from my camera position to my subject. Then you measure how big your foot length is and you multiply it by 12. Right? If you're like, Brad, I don't even have the ability to measure my foot. I'm like, okay, so get a piece of paper, right? It's 8.5 by 11, right? I am sure that by figuring something out with a damn piece of paper, you can figure out how big your feet are. Or just go buy a ruler, right? Come on. All right, so got our position model, we've got our position camera, we've measured that distance, vertical orientation on a tripod, get the whole thing from the head to the feet. Write down the focal length, write down the distance, and take a photograph. If you have a fixed focal length lens, right, you're like, okay, its focal length is 100. If you have a zoom lens, right, look what you're zoomed to, right? That will tell you. You're like, okay, I'm 105, I'm 200, I'm 150, right? Good. So you write down the distance and your focal length, take a picture. Take your camera off the tripod, and without moving it forward or backward, take that same picture but lying on the ground, right? So we had one that's up at sort of eye level-ish, right? Or wherever our camera tripod height is. Take out the tripod, don't move forward or backward, get down on the ground and take that same picture, right? So we've changed point of view, but not distance. Repeat the same thing with a normal lens, right? So if you have a normal lens, put that on there. Full frame camera, 50 millimeters, crop sensor camera, 35-ish something. And now with this new focal length, right, if we stay in the same position, we're going to have a whole lot of space around our person. So what we're going to do is we're going to move closer, right, until with that new focal length, our framing is the same. Right, so here's my new focal length, and I've got from the top of their head to the bottom of their feet, right? Same thing, tripod, and lying on the ground. Write down the focal length, write down the distance. Now repeat with a wide angle lens, again, moving closer so that you have head to toe, standing up and lying down, right? So as we go forward, we're going to move closer and closer and closer, right? So the telephoto will be fairly far away, normal will be closer, wide angle will be closer still. Each location, right, write down what the distance is, write down what your focal length is, and we want the framing to be essentially identical as far as how much space above and below your subject you have. So that's 3 shots. 6 shots, right? Standing up, lying down. Use a tripod. Part B, headshot. Position your model so that there is a blank background behind them, right? Up against the wall is okay for this. With a telephoto lens in your camera, position yourself so you can photograph the model with their ears nearly at the sides of the frame, right? So it's a pretty tight headshot, right? Our heads are not as long as our frame is, so we're probably gonna have a little bit more space above and below. So position your model so there's a blank background, telephoto lens, ears nearly at the sides of the frame, measure the distance from the camera to the model, write down your distance and your focal length, and make a picture. You're not gonna lie on the ground this time, so don't worry about it. Repeat that same exercise, but with the normal lens, right? So again, instead of a full body thing, I'm getting like tight to the ears, right? Whatever that headshot is, measure the distance, take a picture, and the third one with a wide angle lens. Now, with the wide angle lens, you are going to be really damn close to them. It may be that you cannot get close enough to have their ears nearly touching the frame because your camera will no longer focus, right? You'll be too close to focus. If you can't focus, right, just get as close as you can. It may be that you are able to get this close with the wide angle, and we still have more space around them than we do in the other 2 shots, but get as close as you can to focus and take the picture. So that is exercise 2. Part A, full figure, 6 shots. Part B, headshot, 3 shots. Each one of them, you're writing down the focal length, you're writing down the distance between the camera and the model. Excuse me. When you export these, right, and these we're just going to be exporting from Lightroom. There's no need to bring them into Photoshop. When you export them, make sure you include all the metadata on export, so that way I can double check what your focal length is. Goodness. Also write down sort of a PDF what the focal length and camera subject distance is for each shot, or if you wrote it down on a piece of paper and your handwriting is not an incomprehensible scrawl, you could take a picture of that and turn that in. That would also be fine. So it goes in the Googly Drive. Assignment 2. So that was exercise 2. Assignment 2, rules, no flash. Keep that in mind. So for this one, we're going to take 3 photographs and we will submit them sized around 8.5 by 11. One of them you will choose to get printed. Excuse me. You'll get it printed wherever you want to get it printed. You'll have an extra week to get that print back, document it, and turn that in, but all the rest of the stuff, including the file for that, should be turned in next week. So you're going to shoot the same model with 3 different focal lengths. You can have more than one person if you want in the frame, but it needs to be the same. If it's more than one person, you need to have the same 2 people or 3 people in each of the 3 shots. If it's one person, you just have the same one person in each of the 3 shots. And you're going to shoot the same person in with 3 different focal lengths. So again, if we can, get your focal lengths to the extremes, right? If you can go telephoto, go as telephoto as you possibly can, right? If you have 150, go to 150. If you have 200, go to 200. If you have a 300 millimeter lens for some reason, boom, 300 millimeters it is. Wide angle, right? As wide angle as you can possibly get, right? If that's 16 millimeters, if that's 8 millimeters, if you have a fisheye lens, like rocket. And normal, right? Full frame, 50 millimeters, crop body sensor, 35, 38, something like that. Choose the focal length and frame your shot to make a compelling picture, one that looks exactly the way that you want, right? Don't just like zoom to whatever and take a picture and be like, I'm done, right? Like it's an opportunity to make a good picture. So make a good picture, like, come on. Keep notes about what lens you used, your measuring position, like sort of the angle of all of your cameras and things. All right, unlike the in-class exercise, this is creative. You determine your position, close, far, your angle, above and below. Remember, right, you don't have to always take every picture from here, right? There's no reason you have to do that, right? Try a different position. Try standing on something. Try crouching down on the ground, right? Like, try standing on the roof, right? Like, whatever it is, like, mix it up a little bit, right? Maybe you'll do that and you'll be like, wow, this picture looks fucking stupid. I'm not going to do that. That's fine. Right? But do it because you don't know what it looks like, right? And maybe this eye level picture is great, but maybe this eye level picture is just what you're thinking of because it's the thing you're already seeing, right? So be creative. The 3 shots don't need to be framed the same and should look like different pictures, right? So don't be like, hey, Bob, stand over there. And you're like, okay, 3 focal lengths, pow, 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 done. Or like 3 focal lengths and one of them, I'm down here, done, right? No, they should be 3 different pictures, right? Like they should feel different, they should be different, right? One, like the pose should be different, maybe the location is different, like don't be lazy. So in addition to the prints and files of these images, you also submit 20 outtakes, right? So it's going to take you more than one frame to get a good picture, so shoot some stuff. And a write-up detailing how you made the images, both the technical choices, focal length, angle, distance, height, lighting, whatever, and the conceptual ones. Why did you do it, right? You shot this wide-angle picture in this way with this person in this place. Why? And it's like, well, because you told me I had to do it. I'm like, I didn't tell you I had to do that. I told you I had to do something with a wide-angle lens. Why'd you do what you did, right? Like you're making choices, hopefully good ones. So tell me about why you did it. What did you want to emphasize or de-emphasize in the pictures? Oh shit, we didn't see Bill Brand in those wide-angle pictures. That's weird. Go back and look on the slideshow. There's another photographer who I don't think was, I may have skipped his slides, Bill Brand, who does very, very wide-angle. He's very interesting. He's a little bit more abstract, kind of old, but whatever. Okay, what do you think worked? What do you think didn't work? Right? So you did this work, you made these pictures, you came back and looked at them later, and you're like, well, I feel like the wide angle, just like there's too much distortion, that doesn't look good. I feel like the telephoto, it's just too close, or there's the space collapses too much and I didn't get what I wanted, or the depth of field's too shallow, right? So look at the pictures after you've made them, make the best picture you can. Once you've done that, think about, okay, well, what would I change if I went and reshot these? Okay, so that's it. So you are going to have 3 images. You'll turn in 3 files, 3,000 pixels on the long side, sRGB, and a photograph of, oops, sorry, backup. So the print, when you get it back, you will make a photograph of that will be 3,000 pixels on the long side, sRGB, nicely documented, right? So no reflections or whatever. Then you will have the full-size images, right? So you'll size all 3 of your pictures as if you were going to send all 3 of them to be printed, and you'll just pick the one that you like and actually send that one out to get printed. So full-size files, right, to the correct size to make a 8.5 by 11 paper fitting on picture, right? So if you're like, oh, here's my file, it's 13 by 19, like, no, wrong. It has to fit on 8.5 by 11, right? So if your file is 8 inches by 10 3/4 inches, that's good. If your file is 8 inches by 12 inches, that doesn't fit on 8.5 by 11, not good. Figure it out. So those are your files, right? You'll turn those in, and you'll have at least 20 outtakes that are 3,000 pixels on the long side. Yeah, it doesn't have to be 20 outtakes from each one, right? Just 20 outtakes total. Just show me that you're actually out there working, making a picture, thinking about it, trying out new stuff. And a PDF write-up. So read the assignment description, right? Look at what you need to do, ask me any questions you might have. The print, right, all the files and everything are due next class, but the print, you'll have an additional week to get it back and document it. So make sure that you're paying attention to how long it's going to take you to get that print so that you can do it within that time frame. Okay, I think that is all the stuff. Now you've watched the videos, go out there, make some pictures, go check out Bill Brandt, who I feel bad for forgetting. And yeah, we'll see you next week.